Right, so welcome to a new one on this channel, and on this occasion is this saturator from Waves. This is not a review, it's a deep dive guide about this plugin. Now everything on this guide is in chapters, so if you look at the description or the timeline, you can jump to a section or skip the ones you don't want. Now if you like this guide, please like and subscribe, and if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can. Go to the links at the description. Right, so this is a cool plugin because what is emulating is pretty particular. So you see the word right here, Compander, and it's what the F is a Compander. Now I'm not going to narrate the whole story of this because it will just make the video super long. So long story short, back in the day, to reduce the tape, and I mean back in the day, to reduce the tape noise, what they did, they created a device called Compander. So initially what it does, it will compress the signal, tape, and since it's tape, it will add, bring up the high frequencies, the tape noise, and then it will expand it to remove the tape noise. Pretty smart. But some folks discovered that using part of this process, all this compression and excitement it will add, it sounded quite good. So people back then used this as an exciter, which is, pretty much what we know today. So this is why this plugin is very particular, right? And on top of that, since you have the Compander, which is the exciter part of the sound, then it goes to a second section, which is called the saturator. And this is an emulation of a desk saturation. And you get the TG, which is a solid state, or you get the red one, which is a tube. And all of them, the TG and the red, are consoles. But you can just even turn it off and just use the Compander. So the chain goes from the input, then it goes to the pre-EQ, then it goes to the Compander goes to the saturator, which is you can turn it off or just use whatever desk you have right here, then goes to a post-EQ, and then it goes out. So if you think about this, it's a pretty simple plugin to understand. Goes in, EQ, you excite, saturate, you EQ, and goes out. So still, since this is a deep dive, we're going to be covering every single part, and it sounds pretty cool. Now, I'm going to be using some drums. I'm going to show you how the dry drums sound. This is the dry drums. Pretty dry. I'm going to just turn it on, and I'm going to be standing on a full reset. I'm going to turn it on in 3, 2, 1. Right? Okay, so that's the, this is the Abbey Road SATURATOR. So let's just learn all the, all the controls. Okay, so everything starts on the input. Since this is a saturation or distortion unit, but more saturation unit, the input is really important. If you're driving too hard, you could, maybe you're doing too much. So I'm going to play the drums again. Now, on the Waves plugins, the input meter is going to tell you how much you're doing. If the input is too low, you're not going to get anything. If I keep going up, green means, maybe you need to do a little bit more. Yellow, you're doing something. When you go up and you start hitting red, it's over the top. Still, it's still usable. It's completely up to you. But the input is really important. So the other thing is going to be this controls that you have right here. You have a stereo, you have the mono, which is going to be mid, not mono, and then you have the sides. So this means that if you have a stereo source, right, you're going to be processing on a stereo. Pretty simple. Now the other ones means that if you have a stereo source, you're going to be just processing the mid side. You're going to be saturating and exciting the mid side. And the other one is going to be just the sides. Now, on the M and the S, you get an additional input, which is kind of more like a trim. So you have 2 stages to drive this unit. All right, so pretty simple. You just play and you adjust your input to taste. You have your meter in or out, and you can adjust the view meter. All right, so that's fine. Now, we need to talk about this section right here first before we go to the Compander, which is going to be the pre-EQ, and then, at the same time, we're going to cover the post-EQ. All right, so before you send the signal to whatever sound you're trying to process to the Compander and the saturator, you're going to be pre-EQing, and the EQ is pretty simple. So I'm going to be turning this one off, and this one is going to be, because it's going to be boosting the higher frequencies, and you can see it right there, the chart, you get right there, and you can cut the high frequencies. So since this is pre, it's going to affect whatever you do right here, and we're going to, we're going to give it a go in a minute. Now then you get the other side, which is going to be boosting is shelf the lows, or just, cutting the lows. And it's a pretty wide, curve. Now, and then the other side is going to be this one, and this one is super important because you have a bell EQ. You can cut or you can boost right here. You can choose where you want to do it. You can go all the way to 10K or go back, to 40, which is really low. And the Q is going to just make it narrow, just like that, and just make it wider. Right, so pretty cool EQ, and all of this, since you're going before the Compander, it's going to really affect how this reacts, right? And it's a really important section. Now, if I turn this off, it goes back to nothing. The other side, which is going to be the post EQ, it's the same. It's exactly the same. We can chop the lows, chop the highs, boost the highs, and we can even drive it. But this is going to be boosted, sorry. But this is going to be a post EQ. It's after everything it's excited and, saturated. Okay, so full reset. I'm going to start with this, and I'm back to the drums, and we need to talk about the star of the show, which is the Compander. I'm going to be turning the pre-EQ off, the post-EQ off, and the saturator off, so we can just listen to what the Compander is just doing. I'm going to be playing in 3, 2, 1. And this is what we get. It sounds good. Now, the ratio is very important because what you're doing essentially with this, you're just compressing and exciting. So the ratio going down is more dynamic, so you get less of effect. Going up is going to do more. A lot less dynamic. So you need to find the sweet spot right here. Now still, this control is going to be the blend just for the Compander. So right now we are just full wet. So we can bring it down and make a blend between the excited version and the non-one, the dry one. All right. So again, it's just a pretty simple plugin to operate. If I go all the way down, you get just the dry signal. Now, okay, let me just stop. So the most confusing part of the plugin is this section. So these are filters, and what they will do, it will make the Compander focus on different frequencies. That's why you have frequencies, and you can even turn it off. Again, if I play it, and I go all the way off and all the way off on this one, let me go there, and we are full, going all the way up. And maybe I'm gonna stand right there. This is just a little bit darker. Now, as soon as I go up on these frequencies, it's going to affect more the high frequencies. A lot brighter, right? A little bit less. And even there's a change in tone right there. Because we are just, focusing on that part. 750, really different. Enough. Now, let's go up on the lows. 380. And 80. Now, these lows are less noticeable than the other ones that we have right here. The 3K and the 1.5 and 7.5. But you still, you get it. So the trick right here is that whenever you do this process, it depends on what you want to do. You just need to choose the right setting, or just keep it off. So you can invert right here. That's pretty simple. Now, all of this that we are doing, we are just, again, focusing on an area, on a very specific area. If I turn this off and I do the same thing, and I go to the pre-EQ, and I kind of attempt to do the same thing, this is just gonna get bright and excited as well. See? Since we are focusing on that area, this reacts, I wouldn't say the same, but we still get it. If I go back, and I go to 3K, we get something like that. But it's just a little bit different. We can still use the pre-EQ without using right here the filters. I'm going to bring the lows back. And since I'm chopping lows, maybe I'm going to do a little bit of boost right there. Let's go to right there. And maybe just, yeah, gonna go there. Now, since we are not using this, we can just adjust the blend and get something, a little bit more normal. But still, the pre-EQ is affecting the sound. Now, right here you have the mix. If I go all the way down, this is the full mix, not just for the saturator. So I can just, adjust this control and bring the mix between the EQ, the pre-EQ, and the Compander. If I turn it off, completely different, right? So we can maybe, since we are losing a lot of lows, just can boost a little bit of lows on the post EQ. Right, a little bit more control. Alright, so this is what the Compander will do. It will just give you that excitement. So then you have the other side of things, which is going to be the saturator. I'm standing on a full reset and I'm just going to turn everything off. So there's nothing from the Compander, no pre-EQ, no post-EQ, and we're just staying on the saturator. So as soon as I'm bringing us a test tone, sine wave, so as soon as we bring something, we are getting, a little bit of saturation, and we are standing on the 50. If I go all the way down in gain, we still get something, but we still, we get, something very little. If I turn this off, go all the way to off, we just get nothing. Now, this is a full-blown saturator. If I start going up and I, take a look at the sine wave, we're going to start getting, we're going to start crushing it. So if I go up 50%, still, quite normal. But if I keep going up, it's going to start, crushing it. At this point, over 75 is going to, super crush it. And we can see what it's doing right there. And both are going to react a little bit different. This is a solid state type of saturation, and the other one is a tube type of saturation. So they are desks. So if I go to the red one and go up, is a little bit different from the other one. Way different. The TG, again, going to go up on this one, and I'm going to go to the red, completely different. And yeah, it's just, So right here, you need to, when you use it, you just need to choose the one you want, or maybe just, turn it off and just not use it and use the Compander. Right, so okay, so back to full reset, and we're gonna play some drums. I'm gonna be turning the pre, the post, and the Compander all the way down, and I'm just gonna use the saturator just to see how it sounds. All the way down, and let's start bringing it up. Right here, we are just doing a lot. Right. I'm going to stay right here. And I'm going to change to the red one. Notice how different it sounds? A lot more just warm. So the TG is a bit more crispy and edgy. The other one, it's just, since it's tubes, it's just smoother, it's just warm. And off. Which is nothing. Now, if you don't want to use the Compander and everything else, you just can use this saturator. Just use it as a saturator, making a blend. I'm gonna go to this one. You can use the pre-EQ just to maybe chop a little bit of lows. And now it's a little bit, more usable. Maybe I do it too much. Right, there we go. Now I'm gonna turn it off. On. Off. Right? So again, you just, you can choose right here. If you want to use the Compander, just use it. You can go through the saturation if you want, or just use the saturator. So you get like two plugins in one, a saturator unit and a Compander, which is the exciter part of this plugin. And just like any other exciter, distortion, saturator, whatever, that realm type of plugging, the mix or blend, it's your an EQ is your best friend. So you really need to use it to get the most out of the plugging. And I'm telling you this because maybe you're starting, maybe you're learning, and that's why you're watching this. And what you do, you just, I'm going to play again. You go to a saturation, you go really wild, and you just, and that's it. Well, the thing is that you just need to find the sweet spot. If you like this and it fits the track well, then go for it. But usually, you just need to find the sweet spot between, the dry signal and the saturated or distorted signal. So you need to tweak a little bit. And EQing before saturating is going to fix a lot of issues depending on what you're trying to process. If you're processing a low-end information, maybe saturating a lot, the low end, it's not going to give you what you want. Alright, but just, it depends on what you're trying to process. In this case, the drums, if I go all the way up, it's killing the low end. It's just killing the drums. We get a nice high end, but the low end is just, a little bit dead. So you need to be careful of this. Just making the right blend is going to keep a good relationship between your dry signal, your dynamic signal like we have right now, and the excited one, the distorted one, or saturated one in this case. Alright, so there you go. You can saturate or excite at the taste, and it sounds great, and it's pretty cheap. We all know Waves. Now, and this is again my personal opinion. You just take it or leave it. I like Waves. Some of the plugins. Some of their plugins, I just don't really like it that much. I'm only covering the plugins I like. And I don't really hate companies. I don't hate plugins because they come from a company. If the company is bad, it sucks, or they have, a bad attitude, but the plugin is good, right? So I don't really care about that. And this, my channel, I just cover the ones I really like. And this one, I use it a lot, and I really like it. Just like, all the Abbey Road plugins. So that's it. At first it looks challenging, it looks intimidating. I mean, the plugin, but once you get to know it, it's just pretty simple to use. So if you learned something on this one, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee just to say thanks, you can go to the links at the description, and you will find links for PayPal. You have YouTube thanks, and you have Patreon. If you want to be a 1-month patron and buy me a coffee that way, you can. Right? So see you on the next one.